So now normally I try not to do videos like this, like directly attacking people, because 9 times out of 10, nothing constructive comes out of that. It's just going to be a lot of back and forth of nothing constructive for people who are listening. But sometimes you just hear the dumbest shit out there and you just can't help but to answer. So I think this young man right there, I think he's just a little confused on history, historical context, and facts and logic. So we're going to assist him, where we're going to actually do his homework for him, and hopefully he sees this and learns something out of this. I mean, we're hoping and praying he does, but 9 times out of 10, noticing how tight that shirt is and how just played out those glasses are, he's not gonna learn anything. Okay, so let's go ahead and hear what he had to say about black folks and reparations.
Black activists in California are now claiming that looting and stealing from stores is reparations for slavery.
If somebody decides to loot a Gucci or a Macy's or a Nike, because that makes sure that that person eats. That makes sure that that person has clothes. That's reparations.
No one else could make sure that that person eats or has clothes. It's called a job application. You could go into that same store, instead of just being lazy and stealing shit, you could actually apply for a job. No one living on the planet today was a slave or a slave owner in this country. No one owes me or you or any of us a single thing. Perpetuating a victim mentality amongst your people is not how you further your people and their cause. And justifying and encouraging your people to commit crimes is not going to further your communities either. It's just going to contribute to its downfall. You should encourage people to work hard and reach their full potential, not to sink down to the lowest common denominator.
All right, so, I mean, on the outside looking in, if you have no historic understanding of America and how they treated black folks in this country, you would just agree. You'd be like, you know what? That sounds logical. And that is surface level. Yes, it does. But of course, just like anything worth talking about, sometimes you got to pick up a shovel, you got to put on your work boots, and you got to dig a little deeper. Because when you do, you might find sometimes it's not as simple as just saying, hey, just fill out a job application and life will be fine. Let's dig a little deeper. So, unfortunately, I don't think he understands what reparations mean or restitution. So, I got a definition here for you. Reparations refer to compensation or actions taken to address harm, injury, or injustices caused to individuals, groups, or nations. The goal is to repair or make amends for the damage done, whether through financial payments, restitution of property, public apologies, or other forms of acknowledgement. And America has done this before. Once again, I done the homework for you. For the Japanese American internments, 1988, the Native American tribes and black farmers discrimination, which was just recently 1999 and 2010. So once again, we're just going to do a little reading here, because once again, when you have glasses that dark and a shirt that tight, you may not be capable of reading basic information and then processing it before you just say some dumb shit. So let's go ahead and go point by point of what he said, and let's just have this conversation.
Black activists in California are now claiming that looting and stealing from stores is reparations for slavery.
If somebody decides to loot a Gucci or a Macy's or a Nike, because that makes sure that that person eats. That makes sure that that person has clothes. That's reparations.
No one else could make sure
Right.
that person eats or has clothes.
Once again, you can simply say, I don't agree with her. Me, myself, I don't agree with her. Once again, I'm nobody to tell someone how to make sure they get food on their table or make sure they get that rent paid. I'm nobody. So if they feel like that's their need, then hey, they are grown enough and they should be responsible for their own actions. But trust me, I understand. But let's hear what he has to say about that.
It's called a job application. You could go into that same store, instead of just being lazy and stealing shit, you could actually apply for a job.
All right, good point. Now let's look at history and some facts for that ass. Enslaved black people were denied the opportunity to accumulate wealth for generations after emancipation policies like sharecropping, redlining, and discriminatory lending practices continued to support suppress economic mobility. Black households had significantly less wealth compared to white households. In 2019, the median wealth of white families was $184,000 compared to $23,000 for black families. Once again, the facts don't lie. So you tell me how that makes sense. And when it comes to Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, how did that work out for them? Once again, read a book, understand, and you tell me how that worked out for them. Let's continue.
No one living on the planet today was a slave or a slave owner in this country.
Don't worry, I got some information for you here. Underfunded and segregated schools during Jim Crow denied black students equal educational opportunities. This contributes to the disparities in teacher quality, resources, and academic outcomes, continuing the cycle of poverty. In 2020, 37% of black adults aged 25 to 29 had at least an associate's degree compared to 54% of their white counterparts. So you tell me, once again, there's a cause and it's always an effect. It doesn't matter who's living or who's not living. There's always a cause and it will have generational effects. That's pretty simple, right? Let's continue.
No one owes me or you or any of us a single thing.
All right. Once again, let's crack open some facts here. Post-slavery laws like black codes and convict leasing criminalized black people disproportionately, creating a legacy of racial bias in law enforcement and incarceration. Criminal records hindered employment, voting rights, and access to housing, continuing. That's a key word right there. Continuing the cycles of inequality. Black Americans constitute 13% of U.S. population, but account for 37% of prison population. Once again, make that math make sense. Because on my side, it ain't making no sense over here. Let's continue.
Perpetuating a victim mentality amongst your people is not how you further your people and their cause.
You know what? That is a great point. So you tell Trump that when he's trying to seek reparations, restitutions for the victims, quote unquote victims of DEI in these universities. Once again, Trump is seeking restitution for those individuals. So you tell me, once again, how that makes sense.
And justifying and encouraging your people to commit crimes is not going to further your communities either. It's just going to contribute to its downfall.
And I'm glad you said that, because those idiots, those racist bigots, dumbasses who tried to cause an insurrection on January 6th did nothing but make this country even worse. So I hope you have that same energy for those dumbasses on January 6th a few years ago. And when you talk about our community, none of these buildings, these institutions, these corporations, these jobs belong to black people. So if you really want to get into the weeds, that doesn't belong to us anyway. So why do we need to care about something that's only exploiting us even more and not giving back to its community like it should? I don't know. That's a pretty good question.
You should encourage people to work hard and reach their full potential, not to sink down to the lowest common denominator.
You know what? That is true. Once again, historically, when black folks tried to quote unquote pull themselves up by their bootstrap, once again, racist, bigoted, hateful people decide to destroy their boots, steal their boots, or somehow immobilize them from doing that. And that causes generational effects. Once again, this is public information. I highly suggest people look this up, because then if you know better, you do better. And if you do better, you might not end up like this idiot here just saying some dumb shit. Can we please do better, guys? Hey, please, I'm asking you, I'm begging you, please do better.